The gorilla, George, is actually gesturing to mock the men. With just one look from the men, George immediately behaves obediently. George has albinism, hence his white fur, and the men are tight buddies. When the dude gets all serious and says, "We gotta protect our fam," George just fist bumps him firmly. This guy goes by Davis. Davis saved George from some poachers. George witnesses humans using his mother's hands as ashtrays, so he's got major trust issues with people. But thanks to Davis's TLC, George is starting to see the brighter side of humanity. On that day, George suddenly intrudes into the grizzly bear territory, and astonishingly takes down a full-grown grizzly bear with his bare hands. Davis can't believe it. Grizzly bears are the most ferocious beasts out there. How could George possibly defeat one? Davis approaches and sees George trembling in a cave. He signals his assistant to lower the gun, and steps forward to ask George what happened. George covers his chest, indicating deep sorrow. He expresses his sincere apologies for harming the grizzly bear. With tears in his eyes, he walks out of the cave, leaving Davis utterly stunned. Overnight, the white ape George astonishingly grows to approximately 6.56 feet tall. Davis rushes George back to the lab. However, after just one night, George inexplicably grows to approximately 9.84 feet tall, and weighs about 1,000 pounds. As Davis wrestles with his worries, Dr. Kate storms in. She explains that Genetic Company has a space station in outer space, where scientists are cultivating genetically modified organisms. The day before yesterday, a genetically mutated experimental mouse escaped from the experiment module, and caused havoc on the space station. Scientists snatch up the precious genetic serum, and scramble into the escape pod, hurtling back to Earth. Suddenly, the experimental mouse pounds on the escape pod's door, causing the glass to shatter. The escape pod disintegrated instantly, and 3 vials of the genetic serum scattered to various corners of the Earth. One of the vials happened to fall into the zoo where George resides. After inhaling the genetic serum, George undergoes a genetic mutation. The Genetic Company possesses an antidote, which is the only way to save George. After understanding the situation, Davis prepares to head to the Genetic Company. The white ape George erupts in a fury. He snatches up an iron canister and hurls it furiously against the wall, causing the cage door to start loosening. With another powerful strike, the cage collapses instantly, and George charges out, bulldozing his way through, crashing into the hallway. Just as Davis tries to stop him, George startles again and bolts away, leaping outside the enclosure. Tourists scatter in terror as he raises his massive hand and smashes a car to pieces. Davis swiftly steps forward, trying to calm him down. "Take it easy, it's me. Just chill out." Just as George seems to be calming down, police officers storm in with guns drawn, sending him into another fit of rage. As Davis attempts to restore order, a military helicopter swoops in, unleashing a barrage of tranquilizer darts at George. He collapses to the ground, unconscious in an instant. The helicopter belongs to the Department of Defense, and military personnel swiftly load George onto a transport aircraft, with plans to detain him in a military prison. A military officer informs Davis that it's not just George who has mutated this time. "Have you ever seen a mutant wolf that's about 10 feet tall?" A special ops team sets out to hunt down this monstrous creature, only to find it soaring through the air. It's lightning fast, taking down a team member quicker than you can blink. Covered in spikes, it charges forward, its bones seemingly unbreakable. Then, in the blink of an eye, it unexpectedly leaps into the air, flying out over the cliff, latching onto a fighter jet with jaws of steel. The jet is torn apart in an instant, and the special ops team is completely wiped out. The wolf bursts out of the forest, attacking a bus, but then, as if sensing something, it abruptly veers off and dashes away in another direction. Just as Davis stands there dumbfounded, he suddenly notices George's fingers twitching. Something's not right. George's fur stands on end as he grits his teeth. He tears through the iron mesh like tissue paper and bursts out, as the soldiers open fire in a desperate frenzy. But the bullets don't harm George in the slightest. Instead, he tosses soldiers aside like rag dolls with a flick of his wrist, realizing that George is completely out of control. Davis scrambles to find a tranquilizer gun, but just as he finishes assembling it, he spots a military officer pinned to the ground by George. In just a second, the officer will be torn apart. And just as Davis hesitates, soldiers launch a surprise attack from behind. The white ape George is furious. He grabs a soldier in one swift motion. The gun accidentally discharges, sparking an explosion. The plane rapidly begins to plummet. Davis is hanging vertically on the cabin wall. As George closes in step by step, with a single hand. Davis grabs Dr. Kate and hurls her away. Davis operates the lever to slide the shovel car downward, forcing George to the bottom of the cabin. With the plane on the brink of destruction, they must escape quickly. Davis commands Dr. Kate to swiftly strap on a parachute, and immediately opens the cabin door, urging her to jump out first. Just then, George regains consciousness. Davis quickly helps the unconscious officer into a parachute. At the critical moment, they successfully escape from the cabin. Soon after, the plane crashes to the ground, sending plumes of black smoke billowing into the air. Davis witnesses the scene unfold, and feels a deep sense of sorrow for George. After landing, the three of them conduct a thorough search, but find no trace of George's remains. Could it still be alive? Davis notices footprints heading northeast, and immediately hops into a fighter jet, heading towards the city center. Suddenly, a car crashes through a building right before their eyes. The mutated white ape and wolf are rampaging through the city, turning it into their playground. The wolf effortlessly throws cars into buildings with one hand, and leaps to destroy helicopters with just one bite. The white ape hurls tanks like shotputs at helicopters, even leaving dogs unable to bear witness to the destruction. With just one glance from the wolf, the dogs sent running and cowering in fear, leaving a trail of urine behind it. The wolf, unfazed by gunfire, takes down fighter jets with a swipe of its tail, laced with venomous spikes. The two treat tanks like compressed biscuits, leaving the Department of Defense stunned. They immediately order gunfire to take them down. Just as they are about to increase firepower, they spot an unidentified object underwater, rapidly approaching at a speed of 115 miles per hour. Just as the monster creates a massive wave, the next second, the cruise ship is overturned. A giant crocodile, approximately 26.2 feet long, roars ferociously as it leaps out of the water, covered in scales and sharp teeth. Instantly, it captures the attention of the military. Have you ever seen a crocodile taller than buildings? This one storms into the city from the water, and its emergence onto land is nothing short of impressive. Its back is covered in spikes like a porcupine. The special forces are just gearing up their firepower, when the giant crocodile crushes them with one stomp. A fighter jet zooms by, but the croc leaps high into the air and chomps it down in one bite. That croc's packing some serious heat. Human attacks just bounce right off its tough hide. Over there, the white ape is recklessly crashing into buildings, going completely berserk, with three giant beasts about to destroy the city. Davis and Dr. Kate quickly rush to the genetic company to find the antidote. They manage to locate 3 doses, but just as they're about to leave, they're held at gunpoint by the corrupt boss. The boss explains that they deliberately unleashed the giant beasts to profit from selling the antidote at a high price. The 3 monsters were lured here by the signal tower installed on the company's rooftop. The boss forces the 2 to hand over the antidote, but Davis firmly refuses. In response, the boss raises her hand and shoots him. Davis falls to the ground, motionless. Is this the end for him? Dr. Kate is taken as a hostage and brought up to the rooftop. Suddenly, the building starts to shake violently. The city is under attack by 3 mutated animals: the white ape, the crocodile, and the wolf. They are charging towards the signal tower. Just as the boss is about to flee, the building starts shaking violently. The next moment, the white ape George appears, pounding his chest and roaring furiously at her. George is experiencing a headache from the signal interference. He pushes away the helicopter and starts hammering the signal tower frantically. Dr. Kate seizes the opportunity to take out the antidote, but George has already climbed up the signal tower. How can they administer the antidote to him? Just then, Davis suddenly appears. He shouts at George, and Dr. Kate takes the chance to stuff the antidote into the boss's bag. George is drawn over by the sound, lifting the boss up in one swift motion, then tossing her into his mouth as if she were a peanut. The building shakes once more, as the giant crocodile crashes through it, causing the entire structure to teeter on the brink of collapse. George and the wolf are currently demolishing the signal tower, because the antidote is ineffective for the time being. The 2 of them must prioritize their escape. Davis eyes the helicopter, realizing it's their only shot, but without a tail fin. How will the helicopter fly? Davis remains calm and replies, he's about to surf in this wreckage. Dr. Kate is horrified, realizing they might be facing a suicide mission. With the building rapidly tilting, both of them are in shock. The mutated crocodile is formidable in battle. It's perched atop the building, accelerating its collapse. The plane just starts to lift off, but even as Davis yanks the control stick for a steep ascent, the aircraft is engulfed in billowing smoke. The area for miles around has already been reduced to rubble by the monsters. Can they possibly survive? The next moment, Davis somehow climbs out of the cockpit. The plane's momentum from takeoff provides just enough cushioning, allowing them to flee with their lives. Just as they catch their breath, the ground trembles beneath them. George stands before them. Davis approaches gently, calling out to George. George is understanding the gesture instantly, and responds with a smile. Thankfully, the antidote takes effect. George, still playful, teases Davis, "You look like a hobo." As George chuckles contentedly, the ground shakes violently once again. The wolf and the crocodile unexpectedly awaken at the same time. George stands up and confronts the crocodile, roaring defiantly, but unexpectedly. The first time witnessing beasts fighting, the crocodile roars, then bursts out. George grabs an iron frame, knocking over the crocodile. Just as he's about to turn around, the wolf pounces. George executes a full spin and hurls it away, but the wolf unexpectedly flies right back, engaging in a fierce struggle with George. But just as the crocodile is about to charge, Davis comes up with a plan. He immediately fires his gun to distract the wolf. The wolf turns and runs away. The next moment, it leaps towards Davis, but collides head-on with the crocodile. The crocodile instantly kills the wolf with one bite. Davis frantically opens fire to stop the crocodile. It charges forward at lightning speed. Davis jumps from the high building, nearly blacking out. The crocodile charges at him, jaws wide open. In the nick of time, George grabs a weapon and smashes the crocodile violently. It turns its attention to George, rendering him incapacitated. It drags George along, mercilessly tearing and biting him. Davis spots the crocodile's most vulnerable gill and swiftly throws a bomb into it. Boom. The crocodile collapses with a thunderous roar, but just as they catch their breath, the crocodile unexpectedly opens its eyes again. The crocodile swings its tail, tossing George into the air. George's chest is totally pierced. The crocodile lunges forward once more, just as George tries to get up and escape. However, he is forcefully hit back down from the air. Davis sees George weakening, and immediately jumps onto the fighter jet. He aims the gun at the crocodile and unleashes a barrage of bullets. Fire! Just as Davis shifts the crocodile's attention, the magazine runs out. With the crocodile charging towards him, Davis immediately fires missiles, igniting a blaze in an instant. The next moment, the crocodile charges through the thick smoke, jaws wide open. Davis flips over and jumps out of the fighter jet, then bolts away immediately. But unexpectedly, ahead lies a dead end. He's lying on the ground, staring at the giant alligator. Its teeth are right in front of Davis, desperately ramming into the building. Davis looks completely helpless. Is he going to be dead now? At the critical moment, George leaps high into the air, wielding his spear. He thrusts it into the crocodile's eye, eliciting a pained roar. With its head tilted and no longer struggling, just as they catch their breath, Davis sees George walking away. He immediately approaches, wanting to thank him. "Thank you for saving me and the entire city." The ape actually saves the world. He's landing a heavy blow with a steel pipe right into the crocodile's eye. Despite its tough hide, the croc's eye remains vulnerable. And just like that, the crocodile bites the dust. George is panting heavily. Covered in wounds, he gives it his all, fist-bumping Davis, and then goes silent. It looks like he made the ultimate sacrifice. Dr. Kate arrives just in time. Davis is consumed by deep self-blame, tears welling up in his eyes. Suddenly, he notices George's hand moving. He immediately turns around and confronts him. "You little rascal, are you fooling me?" George laughs and gestures playfully. Davis is frustrated. "You sneaky little fellow, you were pretending to be dead." George mocks Davis by touching his face and saying, "You, a grown man," crying. Davis tries to defend himself awkwardly. "It's just the smoke stinging my eyes, that's all." Then, George points at Dr. Kate and asks, "What's your relationship with her?" Davis is feeling shy. "We're just friends." George immediately understands and makes a mysterious gesture. Davis feels so embarrassed that he's practically curling his toes. "Come on, man." George bursts into laughter. As Dr. Kate walks away, Davis and George exchange a knowing fist bump, signifying their successful teamwork in saving everyone. This movie's called Rampage. It's a must-watch, so I recommend checking out the original. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you next time. Bye.